It has divided opinion across the country, but the High-Speed Rail 2 rail link could be another step closer this evening. At least 30 Tory MPs are expected to rebel in a vote later, but with Labour due to support it, it is likely to pass without problem. David Crabtree looks now at the issues that have made the plan so controversial.
"What are you hiding from?" asked Pat. "From the facts," said HS2.
Those who oppose the scheme use every tactic. The detractors say the vast high-speed plan would amount to an environmental and economic disaster. They rubbish claims that there's an imminent capacity crisis on the current network.
Even if we were to humour the government and HS2 figures on this alleged undercapacity, how that would be addressed is quite simply by doing two things. First of all, sorting out three junctions on the West Coast main line, pinch points as they call them, and then taking the trains, convert one first-class carriage on each train to standard and add another standard carriage on each of the trains on the line. That will address the capacity problem and nearly double the number of seats on each train.
In contrast, HS2 talk of the 250-mile-per-hour scheme revolutionising our railways and bringing the country's great cities closer together. In Birmingham, the plan is linked to one of Britain's biggest urban regeneration schemes.
This is literally where the Curzon Street station will sit, so we are just at the end of the platforms effectively. This is literally a game changer for Birmingham City, and I think it's a game changer for the region too.
Later, for the first time, MPs will debate the HS2 hybrid bill, aware that it has split opinion. For example, the Woodland Trust says it shouldn't be built at the expense of our natural heritage, while Greenpeace supports high-speed rail in principle, as it has potential to reduce carbon emissions. In the business world, the Confederation of British Industry believes it's an opportunity for growth, but the Institute of Directors have called it a great folly. When you come to beautiful places like this, which would disappear under HS2, you can see why people who live in this area are so dead against the whole project. But those who say HS2 must be built believe it will be a worthwhile trade-off. The plan is to have Phase 1 to Birmingham open by 2026. The parliamentary marathon is already underway. David Crabtree, Sky News, Warwickshire.
Well, joining me here in Westminster are Professor David Begg, he's a transport expert and a supporter of HS2, and Joe Rukin, who is in charge of the campaign manager for Stop HS2. Welcome to you both. Professor Begg, first of all, why is this a good idea? There seem to be many adverse issues.
I think it's because we want a modern transport infrastructure and to accommodate economic growth. I mean, it strikes me that if we lived through the Victorian era with the level of social media and 24-hour news that we have just now, I'm not sure we would have ever built the railways in the first place, because all the objections that the Victorians experienced to building railways we're experiencing now around high speed too. There's better ways to spend the money. It'll be too dangerous. The environmental costs are going to be far too high. For me, I think we need to be much more ambitious on high speed rail than we actually have been. And I keep on asking the question, why do we not already have a high-speed rail network in like other countries? And I hold up my hands here and plead guilty, because I don't think when I was in a position of more influence than I am now, that I was ambitious enough in terms of producing this modern railway system that we need.
I mean, it's Rukin, we do have to update our roads, we have to update our sewers, we have to update our national grid. Surely the railways have to be part of that, don't
well,
they?
to use the example of Victorians is completely disingenuous, because one, that was all built with private money, and two, you know, a horse and cart was what passed for a lorry back in those days. And that's the thing, that high-speed rail is something that has existed in this country since the 1970s. It's called the West Coast Main Line, the East Coast Main Line. The Midland Main Line is now 125 miles an hour, which is what a high-speed railway is. And people keep putting down the network that we've got, and realistically we should be investing in that.
Anyone who has been on that network knows that it's crowded and that many times it is running over capacity.
Absolutely, but only on the short distance commutes. It's not really the long distance point-to-point journeys that have these problems with capacity. The majority of rail users do short distances, and HS2 is going to take the investment.
Have you been on a train to Scotland recently?
Well, I regularly come down here to London from Coventry, and of course that's one of the services that would be cut if HS2 goes ahead, because they say freeing up capacity is going to be great, but in reality that means losing the trains you already have.
I mean, David, that does sound a little bit as if you're saying, you know, we should do it because it's there, if you like.
No, I think, Adam, this is about ambition for me.
Exactly, because it's there, rather than this is going to be
this is not
lead
as
to growth or
this is not as
congestion.
Inventing a bit of technology that other successful countries around the world haven't got in place. They have got in place. You have to ask the question: are Japan wrong? Are China wrong? Are France wrong? Are Spain wrong? Are Germany wrong? I don't think we've been ambitious enough for this country. I think our transport infrastructure has been a brake on economic growth for too long. We need a modern transport infrastructure, and high-speed 2 is part of it.
It does seem that the further north you get, the more popular this becomes.
Well, it depends if you're talking about with politicians or the public, because if you look at the polls, you actually found that there's more people against it in the north than are in the Midlands or London. In fact, London's the only place where you look at the public that they're actually for HS2, and the reason for that is quite simple.
I think that's slightly questionable.
Well,
there have been different surveys of different kinds.
Fair enough.
And generally speaking, if you talk to business organisations in the north of England, they see this as an opportunity.
Oh, well, business organisations that are going to make money out of this, and local authorities that think that it's going to be a great thing for their city, those are pretty much the only people that you can find are lobbying for this. In fact, to be honest, you know, Labour were wavering. That was put down more or less by Birmingham City Council, Leeds City Council.
Is this going to happen?
We're being held to ransom by a couple of the whole country.
Do you think it's going to happen?
I think that the vote's going to go through today, but there's a long way to go yet, and this is going to be a toxic issue at the next election.
It's going to happen in parts of the country that don't have high-speed rail will want it.
OK, we shall see. Thank you very, very much indeed.
Thank you.